Hello everyone, and welcome to the 12th edition of the Access Business Webinar. The Access Business Webinar is an initiative brought to you by the Access SMEZone. The Access SMEZone at www.accesssmezone.com is a platform for SMEs and entrepreneurs where they can discuss topical issues that affect their business and gain insightful solutions through capacity building courses, networking, and online webinars. My name is Chibueze Wuzie, and I'm the Exclusive Plus Channel Manager, and I'll be your host for today's edition. Now, as an introduction, it's not news that the yuletide season shapes the business year. And for many businesses, it's indicative of a spike or decline in business activity, depending on several factors such as the business sector, location, campaigns, macroeconomic indicators, policy changes, just to mention a few. Now, statistics shows that 20 to 40% of yearly sales for small and medium-sized businesses occur in the last 2 months of the year. Therefore, SMEs must favorably position themselves to ensure business growth during this period. It is in the light of this that we have thought it needful to put together this webinar, where we'll be discussing the topic, positioning your business for growth during the Ember months. I am very excited to say that we have some very notable individuals with us today who will be delving into this topic in the best way that we know how. First on the lineup, of course, is Linus Iwajoku, who is the head of strategic planning here at Access Bank. Linus is a professional economist, banker, corporate strategist, and researcher with over 20 years of solid cross-functional banking experience, cutting across operations, customer service, business development, planning and strategy, performance analysis, and macroeconomic research. He holds a master's degree in economics and is also an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Economists of Nigeria. I beg your pardon. He has attended several professional courses and seminars organized by reputable organizations like KPMG Professionals, Lagos Business School, Philips Consulting, Accenture, Agosto Consulting, Euromoney, just to mention a few. Linus, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be on the SMEZone for today.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on. We have Abimbola Balogun, who is a lawyer, entrepreneur, and HR professional. She's the co-founder of SoFresh, the leading healthy food company established in 2010 with multiple branches across Nigeria. She's the principal consultant at AB Moore Consulting Firm, where she trains several SMEs on how to grow their businesses beyond them teaching management strategies as well, to build great team rapport through online schooling. She has been listed among the 100 most inspiring women by Y Niger in 2017 and in 2019 as well. She's among Nigeria's top 100 most inspiring women listed by the Leading Ladies Africa. She's also a Goldman Sachs scholar and a John Maxwell team member. She's passionate about human capital development and possesses strong leadership, managerial, and problem-solving skills, which of course has given her the opportunity to grace several platforms and conferences where she's a speaker and business coach. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management and is heavily invested in helping people grow their businesses. Abimbola, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Moving on, last but not the least, is of course Olufemi Odumosu, who is a consultant with PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is also known as PwC, if I'm correct. Yes, sir. Olufemi is a manager with the Tax Reporting and Strategy Unit at PwC. He's a member of the ASHRAE Chartered Certified Accountants, UK, and an alumnus of the Harvard Business School. He has over 11 years of experience in audit, financial reporting, advisory, strategy, tax, and data analytics. He holds a Bachelor of Science in both Applied Accounting and Banking and Finance. Olufemi is responsible for the outsourced tax function of SMEs across different industries while working with PwC. Femi, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Same here, I'm excited to be here.
All right, great. So we'll just jump right in. As a reminder, for our viewers who are joining us from across the country, please bear in mind that you can send your questions by using the dialog box beneath your screen. As a form of introduction, I would start with Abimbola, who is to my left. And the first thing we would like to know is your Goldman Sachs is synonymous with excellence. So it's quite impressive that you've been recognized as a Goldman Sachs scholar. So basically, just briefly share with us, what does it mean? What does it take to be a Goldman Sachs scholar?
Thank you very much once again for having me. So sometime in 2011, when we just newly started the business, by the way, the healthy food business was what happened to my husband and I accidentally. So like you read, my background is in law, so I don't have any culinary school experience. But then when we started, we realized that there is an opportunity for this business to grow really big if we are truly and heavily invested in it. So I sought after, more training, and I came across a newspaper publication, about Goldman Sachs initiative to train about 10,000 women across Africa. And Enterprise Development Center happened to be one of the channels through which this training will happen. So I applied for it, and thankfully I was invited for an interview, and I was successful. So I was trained for free, and that's what it means to be a Goldman Sachs scholar. So I got that training free, and Goldman Sachs is an initiative that is heavily invested in training women, empowering women in business.
All right, thank you very much for that. Moving on to you now, Linus. 20 years of banking experience. That is impressive by all standards. We'd just like to know, what is your secret to staying that long in the business?
Yeah, thank you for having me once again. I think for me it's perseverance, and also having an open mind, learning new things every day, moving with the tide, and as the environment that you're operating keeps changing, you try to align with what is driving the economy, businesses, and the culture generally. So that will help you, to stay much longer in business and life generally.
Great, and I mean, these are also the things that would help business people to also last long in their business as well. Thank you very much, Linus. Olufemi, PwC is a brand that is known globally and, of course, operating in diverse markets, including Nigeria. What would you consider the impact of your company in the Nigerian economy?
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'll just start by just describing our vision as a business, and it's simple: to build trust in society and solve important problems. And so as a business, we have been around for close to 100 years thereabouts, operating across the world. And our goal is to ensure that we identify problems in society and help solve them. So part of what we have done in our business, we provide advisory, tax and insurance supports. And more recently, we have seen the need to provide some support to SMEs. And over the couple of months, we have organized several events, several SME workshops. And we had a business health check recently, whereby we invited a couple of SMEs and actually empowered them. So it's our goal, and we're seeing the importance of SMEs in any economy. And we said there's a need. They actually need help, as in terms of information, and also more, apart from information, also access to things that can help their business grow. Just like how she did mention that she actually saw something on Goldman Sachs. So PwC as well, we are providing a platform, and we have an SME desk whereby we actually provide support to SMEs, things around tax, finance, and advisory support. So that's our goal, to help businesses grow. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Much appreciated. So we'll just move over to Linus now, and we'll just say, just walk us through the numbers. What are the economic indicators as we head into the last quarter of 2019, especially as it concerns SMEs in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you. I think if you look at the Nigerian economy since the beginning of this year, and the economy have not really performed up to expectation, and for a lot of analysts, this is expected because since we exited recession in 2016, that exiting of recession was largely powered by the oil sector, and it was clear to everybody that oil sector remaining as the main driver of the Nigerian economy, is built on a shaky ground because of the level of volatility that's associated with that sector. So it is not surprising that as at the end of Q2, the GDP has slowed down because of activities around the oil market, especially in terms of price volatility, even in terms of also outputs. Beyond that, too, we also saw that the growth rate of GDP came down to about 1.94 at the end of Q2 compared to 2.1% that we saw in Q1. And this also a little bit less than 2.6% that we saw in terms of population growth rate. So generally, what it means is that the country is getting poorer. Inflation is still around 11%, over 11%, as at August, which is still higher than the single digit that CBN is targeting. Exchange rate is still around 360, which is quite high in my view. And if you also look at the other parameters, you can largely conclude that the economy is operating at the level that is conducive for small businesses to operate, to thrive. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Just as a follow-up question, in your opinion, what sectors do you think can support the oil sector in terms of improving the economic outlook of in Nigeria in general?
Now, so for beyond the oil sector, the non-oil sector is one area that I think government need to pay a lot of more attention to. For a long time now, we have seen successful government, speaking about the need to diversify the Nigerian economy away from the oil sector, which has a lot of volatility around its operation. Now, if you come down to the non-oil sector, there are a couple of sectors, in my view, that have not performed badly, and some of these sectors are areas where small and emerging businesses can play and thrive. So, for instance, if you look at the agricultural space, the entire value chain is very key. And that was also, recently brought to fore when we saw what happened with the border closure, begin to see price of food items to skyrocket. So people who go into that space, given of our population that is going towards 200 million mark, it's a very good space to play. And you can also play in this space without, being exposed to FS-related issues. Now, beyond that too, there are some other small areas that emerging businesses can play. So you can look at the footwear, food, restaurants, the liquor businesses. So these are businesses that, can thrive because they don't have so much dependence on FS, on forex.
All right, thank you very much. Olufemi, just as a follow-up to what Linus has said, we're thinking about what economic policies that, can support SMEs. What policies can they take advantage of? Especially as we're going into the yuletide season. Clearly, the numbers are not encouraging. So what policies can they take advantage of going into the yuletide season?
Yeah, thank you very much. There are quite a number of policies that we have, and again, I'll just touch on a few. And to start, it's important to know that in the 2019 budget, I knew that there was about 10 billion was allocated to subsidized loans given to SMEs through the Bank of Industry. However, looking at the numbers, considering the number of SMEs we have in Nigeria, millions, so that number is not so encouraging anyways, but it's a step in the right direction. However, in addition to that, we have policies around, there's this, the NDR, the loan to deposit ratio, which banks are actually mandated to retain a certain percentage of their funds to make loans available to SMEs. That is one channel which we believe will actually encourage business, because what that means that banks are required to set aside a certain amount of their funds as loans to SMEs. So that is one good initiative. Then we also have for some of them, the first restriction that we saw recently, which actually was making the rounds in the news, whereby the government actually, through the CBN, had actually mandated that certain food items would not be allowed, would not be allowed into the country And by that I mean forex will not be provided to those who need forex to import certain like dairy products, rice and the like. So what that means is that if you're operating in that space, it's going to be a challenge to bring in goods into the country. But again, the plus to it is that the aim is to ensure that we encourage local production.
Yeah, of course.
That's the intention. But now the next question is that what are the infrastructures in place to encourage local production? That's a different conversation. So then also we have something like, there's also a scheme, the Anchor Borrower Scheme as well for those. And my colleague did mention that the fact that the agricultural sector is actually an interesting space. A lot of things happen in that space, and there's this Anchor Borrower Scheme whereby it's a plan that does to promote farmers, to support farmers to make their products available to certain processors and all that. And then also we also have the Economic Recovery Growth Plan, which is actually a very big plan for the government to ensure that several initiatives to see how the economy can actually grow in terms of things around providing infrastructures for SMEs, things around regulating the forex, things around moving the dependence on oil revenue, because he did mention that the recession we experienced in 2016 was largely as a effect of the pricing of oil. But now, so it's a wake-up call for Nigeria. And so the government is making conscious effort. There are quite a number of initiatives to ensure that we are not so dependent on oil revenue. And we can see globally the fact that the price of revenue is not so. And no, I don't think as an economy with our long-term plans, we cannot continue to rely on oil revenue. So we need to diversify the economy.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Femi. And if you're just joining us, please make sure that you have your questions ready and use the dialog box to share those questions with us. Moving on, we'll talk to Abimbola now, and we just want to find out, going into the yuletide season, it's very convenient for customers to forget, their Fit Farm journey and indulge everything on the menu, right? As a dealer in healthy food options, how do you ensure that your food options are relevant, just so that your customers don't feel left out from all the festivities during this period?
Okay, so it's important we all eat responsibly, regardless of yuletide season or not. But from our side at So Fresh, yes, just about 2 days ago, we relaunched some of our mini meals to make it more affordable. And our meals and the response to it has been really fantastic. So it's important as businesses to know your numbers and also watch your customers' response to your product. So we realized that there's been a decline in purchases and all that because of the economic situation in the country. It makes us have less disposable income at hand. And so with what you still have at hand, how can we still get it from you? So we have yummy meals. Our salads are not boring at all. We have parfait, which is like, our cash cow. And so if you are big on maybe ice cream or something really sweet, we have you covered. So you can still create meals that can keep, exciting your customers so that you don't lose out of the money that will be flowing and exchanging hands at this peak season of the year.
All right, so creativity is very important. All right, good. Thank you very much. Moving on, fruits are seasonal, and not all fruits grow throughout the year. So how best do you go about stocking on fresh produce? And of course, how do you manage your inventory to ensure that your customers' demands are always met at any time that they request for anything that they want?
Okay, so our business model is fresh. So that business model on its own have its own, unique peculiarities. So there is a limit to what we can stock up. Like you said, it's largely perishable. In fact, 95% of what we use, is perishable. So what we do is to, as much as we can, freeze. So seasonal produce like mango, strawberries, but largely local fruits like pineapples, watermelon, oranges, bananas, we get it all year round. Okay. But there are some very, tropical fruits that we don't get. And so those ones our customers understand. So when we have them, we have menu that we have created around those things. So we always ensure that we have a well-ventilated room. Peradventure, we have a large order that we want to fulfill. So we have refrigerators, chillers to ensure that it still stays fresh and it still stays to our promise to the consumers. In terms of inventory, again, we stock up mostly on packaging materials because the prices of those ones fluctuate, and there is no how we can present the products to you without packaging it in a bowl or a cup or a bottle. So those ones can stay, for a very long time. But in terms of the produce itself, it's very funny because, again, light, power is a challenge right here. So we don't stock up too much. Okay. We just stock up a bit.
All right, thank you very much. I'd just like to come back to Femi. And of course, Femi, we would like to just talk about, what sector of the economy do you think SMEs have contributed the most to in 2019? And of course, how would you quantify in figures, how would you quantify this impact to the economy this year?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think I'll just draw some stats. There are basically 5 subsectors that actually played a very big role in that space: education, manufacturing, wholesale, health, and accommodation and food services. So just to break it down in number 10, put percentages just to see the level of impact.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so these are those stats from the National Bureau of Statistics. So we have education 27%, manufacturing 23%, wholesale and retail 18%, human health and social works 10.4%, accommodation and food services 8.4%. So I think those are the top 5 sectors that actually made impact in 2019. Yeah.
All right. Linus, please just enlighten us a bit on, what sources of funding can SMEs take advantage of, in order to scale their businesses and also further contribute to the economic outlook of the country.
Okay, thank you. Generally, when it comes to funding, a lot of analysts sometimes see funding as a critical success factor for the success of a lot of SME businesses. I quite agree, but not completely, because for me, there are other issues more important for the survival of SMEs beyond, funding, especially when it has to do with, capacity to manage businesses and all that, exposure training, customer management and all that. Because if a business owner or a business manager lack, the necessary capacity to manage business, no matter the amount of funding that's available to such a person, he will not make a success, out of it. But beyond that, he has also spoken about some funding that's available from CBN perspective. So there's a lot of funding out there. So what you discover in this space is that, there are so many sources of funding available to MSME players, but what is actually the challenge is access. Access is very low, so you have funding coming from Bank of Industry, BOI. CBN have so many other intervention funds. They've exposed customers to through deposit money banks. So you have things like the commercial agricultural credit scheme, which comes at about 9% in the market. You also have the CBN Micro, Small and Enterprises Development Fund, and this also comes at I think about 9% too. And beyond all this funding too, you also have even the one that's from Access Bank that also make it available to MSME, players. So you have things like our hospitality lending, we have things like cash flow lending, where we do not even require collateral to lend, to customers. Just based on your transaction history and your turnover, we can make, such loans available to you. We have school loans also available to cater for your working capital, payment of staff salary, and all that. We also have, things like overdraft. We can also help you buy equipment and all that. So clearly, these are the various, funding opportunities for MSME, players to deal with issues around access to finance.
I mean, in terms of this access to finance, let's talk about money. In terms of the patterns, of spending, in this yuletide season, are there any trends that are typical of this season, right? And what sectors are the usual culprits for these trends? during the yuletide?
Typically, during this period, what you discover that from month of April to October, thereabouts, you begin to see sales of certain businesses begin to rev up because of the time of the year. So you begin to see people who are dealers in things like food, clothing, apparels, luggages, people who are even dealers in fairly used clothes, even car dealers, especially tokumbos and car parts, because people are beginning to prepare for the Christmas season. Transportation too also begin to rev up. So typically you see such businesses, their cash flow trending upwards between 10 to 15% between the month of October to I think about second week of December. And some of these sectors that I mentioned typically witness this increased cash flow during this period. So over the years, you could actually establish that pattern or trend associated with this kind of businesses towards the last 3 months of the year.
Okay, so I mean, you mentioned a couple of sectors that this is more like their season, right? However, there are some other business sectors that don't do so well. So I mean, we are curious. What sectors do you think when it comes to the yuletide season kind of take a hit? Right? I mean, their books don't blow up just like you mentioned for the other sectors. What sectors are not so vibrant during the Yuletide season?
Yeah, well, interesting because it's the Yuletide season is just synonymous with festivities and the like. So typically, if your business is really not in that space, so I'm like, you're probably into the entertainment kind of business, food business, that'll be thriving. So if your business is not really skilled towards that kind of area, it might be quite challenging. And because at that period, people are in the festive mode, people are winding down for the year. So usually consultancy, you don't see so much happening there. Yeah, but obviously, yeah. So, but obviously things like entertainment, lifestyle, those are things that I try. So it's
okay. So I mean, I think the only right thing to ask now is for businesses like yours, who activity is not so much during that period. How do you hedge, the risk during that period? Because I mean, you're out to make money, and for those periods, how do you hedge your risk so that you're not losing out entirely, right? So just share with us, and it mustn't be from your business perspective. It could be from another sector in the economy, because we have attendees who are also playing in various sectors, and just give us an example of something that is not that anybody can relate to, basically.
Okay, yeah, so basically, I think I'll just start from PwC and then probably just relate it to other business. So I know PwC, as a consultancy firm, we actually provide a wide range of services. So it cuts across advisory, tax support, accounting. So because of our diversity in terms of the nature of the service we offer, we tend to stay afloat all year round because we are not just restricted to certain kind of service, kind of sector. So because we play in virtually all the space, I just did mention we have clients in entertainment, so we're always busy all year round. So now for us, and because as a business we have projects that are run sometimes throughout the course of the year period, so we have managed to structure our business in such a way that we're actually that effective. But now, because we're now in an era of technology, and we, as a business, part of our goals is to ensure that we are a technologically enabled business. What does that mean? It means that we are consciously developing solutions for our clients that, even if at all we are not physically present, we are delivering value. So we have a couple of applications that we have, our mobile application, for instance, Tax 247 is a mobile app which our clients actually use. They actually gain access to tax laws information. That is a very fantastic solution. So we don't necessarily need to engage the clients, they're actually accessing it. And so for some clients, we have a couple of bespoke solutions for the banks, and like analytics and the likes, as in revenue, customer management, logistic management. So we have a couple of things that we do. So because we're leveraging technology, we are constantly delivering value to our clients at all points in time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abimbola, I would just like to come back to you now. And we would like to talk about distribution in your line of business. How important is your distribution network, and what strategies are critical for you to maximize, their potential?
Okay, so talking about distribution is basically knowing your customers. So who are your customers? profiling them and knowing why they do business with you, why they buy from you. So for us, it's like 50-50, 50% online and 50% offline. What do I mean by that? So we have physical stores and we have a website where you can also order online. And we realize that even a large percentage of the sales in store is driven by the online exposure. So we have different customers who come in who buy once or twice a week, and we also have a subscription model for those who want to constantly buy from us and they don't want to keep calling every day. We have corporate clients, we have, you know, other forms of ways we push our products out there, because again, it is perishable. So we can't just sit down praying and expecting that business will come. We need to find creative ways to give you a reason to do business with us. Even if you're not thinking about it, we want to leverage on maybe an event that you're doing. For instance, Health Week for some large organizations. We partner with them and we supply them products, salads, fruits, you know, to ensure that they keep their staffs healthy and excited and giving them, you know, variety of meal options. So we also have other fitness organizations, gyms that we partner with. So we have a lot of distribution channels, but it's important to know what works for you and where you want to focus and invest more in, so that you don't also lose track of what your main source of income is coming from.
All right, so I'm glad you mentioned your website as one of your distribution channels because I mean we're in the internet age, and a lot of businesses are driven now by their online presence. We just want to know how important is digital marketing for a business like yours, and how has it helped you grow your business in general?
Okay, so more and more people are online. We are all internet, you know, connected. Yes, so it has pretty much become part of our lives. And so those are where our target audience is, and we need to go after them, marketing and giving them reason and telling them about us. So it's given us a huge visibility first of all. So you want to buy something, the first thing you do is to go online and check. You know, you want to look at the pictures, you want to look at customer review, you want to, what are people saying about this brand before I even try it out. So you can't afford to be winking in the dark because you are just speaking to yourself. We're out there and people need to connect with your product, your service online. And so checking our website, it's quite user-friendly. You order and we'll deliver it, you know, to you wherever you are. So it's given us huge visibility, and that has translated to sales and growth, right? So we have 9 stores now. It can be possible if we don't have a wider reach to our target audience. So it's given us accelerated growth indeed, and it's also helped us become more aware even of similar brands, competition, what are they doing, what do we need to also come up with so that we can, you know, continue to be the thought leader in the industry.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, as a follow-up question, being online, I mean, it requires businesses to be transparent. You know, because if customers get a negative experience, they will definitely be very vocal about it. And that, of course, would impact, you know, if other people would end up buying from you. In line with being transparent, how do you prevent wastage of, you know, perishable produce that, I mean, it's typical of your business to use products that you can't really store long term? So how do you manage, you know, wastage and in line with, of course, making sure that your business is also profitable? Yeah.
I like the word manage because you realistically cannot prevent it. By its nature, it will perish, right? So how we have realistically been able to manage it is to watch the trend of sales per store. So what is working for this store, what is moving for this store, differs across board. So it's important to watch the trend and that helps you to build a forecast into what you need to buy and in what quantity, just so you minimize waste. Because like I said, by its nature, we generate waste. And what we have come up with again is to also produce in batches. So we don't even mass produce like that. It's fresh on demand. And so that also helps. And again, the downside of that is that we are 24/7 on power, because we can't keep going to the market every day. So we buy something that will last for about 3 days, but it won't last for a day without it surviving under a cool temperature. And so that again, costs us a lot of money. But that's a way in which we manage waste. Again, ensuring that we expand our distribution channel is also a way to minimize waste, because if we are able to churn out and sell out, it helps to reduce the waste that will generate. Again, our machines, so training staffs also helps to minimize waste, because when they know what standard measurements is required to produce this kind of juice or this kind of smoothie, it helps a lot. So we are heavily invested in capacity building, training them, and continuously refreshing their minds to stay with standard measurements. So structuring your business is not what we can joke with at all. It helps a lot to make more, because your people are working with standards. And again, automation in terms of having food processors to also process some of our vegetables, because if it is largely dependent on human, there can be again a lot of waste. Then we gain speed with automation as well. You are able to produce more within a shorter time frame, and so that has also helped. Upgrading our juicers, our smoothie makers, our machines generally, and leveraging on technology has indeed been very beneficial to the business.
All right, thank you. One of the things that you mentioned, it leads up to the question that I wanted to ask Linus. You mentioned power, right? And having to be able to freeze your product or really preserve them, basically. So one of the question to you, Linus, is now, what are the most pressing challenges for small businesses in Nigeria? She already mentioned one, power, which is very obvious. Businesses have to run on diesel or fuel. So what other challenges are businesses facing, and how can they work around these challenges?
Okay, thank you very much. It's, over the years, we have seen that the small businesses play an important role in the development of any economy, and Nigeria has not been left out in recognition of this fact. But if you look at in terms of employment generation, small businesses account for about 70% of that volume. And if you also look at in terms of contribution to the overall GDP, the small businesses, emerging businesses, drives over 40 trillion to our, GDP. And what we now begin to wonder is that despite the importance or relevance of small businesses in the growth and development of an economy like Nigeria, there are still a lot of challenges these businesses are facing, and sometimes we're not seeing significant traction from the government in trying to address these challenges so that they can continue to play a pivotal role in the development of the economy. She mentioned power. Power is one of the biggest challenges that small businesses are facing. Today, if we solve power problem, you could add about 2 or 3%, to the Nigerian GDP,
which is a lot,
which is quite significant. Significant. A lot of their cost goes into provision of power, beyond the generator itself, maintaining it and buying of diesel. So some of these businesses, one way they can look at it in the long term is to begin to look at solar system. Yeah, while because in the last 5 years we have seen significant improvements in the quality of the panels. That the solar providers are using. So it becomes much reliable, and in terms of cost, it's also trending, downwards compared to, before.
Yeah.
Now, beyond that too, other challenges that a lot of small businesses are also facing, is in the area of multiple taxation coming from the government, because government revenue has been under significant pressure year in, year out, due to high reliance on oil revenue. And one way that government have been trying to cover that, shortfall is to introduce all sorts of, taxes. So this also impacting negatively on, small businesses. Of recent, we saw that government making plans to increase VAT, for instance, and this is also going to have, punitive impact on small businesses. Beyond federal government taxes, different states, also impose all sorts of taxes on these businesses. All this, makes it a lot of them very difficult, for them to break even or to continue to operate, optimally.
Yeah.
So this is one area that government need to look into. It's outside the purview of the small businesses, but government need to streamline the taxes and, where necessary, provide tax waivers for some of them that are playing in sectors that are really generating, employment.
All right.
So
All right.
beyond that too, beyond the issue of tax, another area is in terms of infrastructure beyond the power. The roads are bad, no water. Some of them sometimes have to, construct their roads, especially those of them that are operating in the agri sector. For our own business, for instance, some of those farmers, to get those fresh products from the farm down to the off-takers, takes 2 or 3 days. And by the time the thing is getting to the market,
Some are already bad.
some are already bad, and the quality have
All right. Thank
really
you.
gone
Thank you
down.
very much. We will just take a few questions now from our attendees. The very first question goes to you, Olufemi, and the question is, in your opinion, when is the best time, to prepare your books as a small business?
Okay, your books now. So, it depends. Again, every business has their own life cycle. But ideally, what we recommend, and I think part of what we offer in our SME desk, is to provide monthly reporting, because then it helps you. Ideally, if you could keep it daily, but realistically, it depends. If you don't have the resource, what you could do is that, and that's what we support in PwC. We have an SME desk, monthly reports, give you your state of affairs, your income and expense for the period, your tax returns, and possibly also advisory work you can strategize for the year. So I think monthly ideally, but if you could keep it weekly or daily, it depends. But
just very quickly, are there any apps that people could use to help them put their books in order? Just very, very briefly.
yeah, there are a couple of apps, but I can't name anyone now. But all I know is that we actually offer that service in PwC, and it's something we are partnering with Access Bank to do.
All right, thank you very much. To you, Mrs. Abimbola, very quick question. Is mentorship a critical success factor in the health food business? Mentorship, a critical success factor in the health food business?
Oh, well, mentorship is very important and useful in any business sector. But speaking about healthy food business, certainly yes. So a lot of people want to know about a lot of things, where you source your things from, where you hire your staff from, how you train, how you achieve those, menu and standard measurements. So certainly yes. But interestingly, like I said, starting this business was an accidental happening. Yes. So we didn't get any mentorship when we started. We basically, self-taught ourselves, and with the support from, the Goldman Sachs training, I also got training on how to manage a food business, right? So it's very important to get training and to know the business of what you sell.
All right, thank you very much. To Linus now, there are predictions of a recession in the coming year. How best can small businesses position themselves to, mitigate the effects of this recession?
So, thank you. That fear has been, within the horizon. The fear of recession and possible devaluation of the currency has been there. But in my view, I don't think we're likely going to see any devaluation to the currency, in 2019, because the oil price is still above the budget benchmark, even though it is delicately balanced. And if you also look at our external reserve, still above $40 billion, which still gives CBN enough capacity to continue to defend, the naira. But looking at the performance of the economy overall, so you cannot rule out the fear of, recession creeping in, in 2020, and also looking at what is also happening in the, international, market. So what I will advise is, in preparation for possible devaluation of the currency in 2020 and possibility of recession also happening in 2020, is for businesses that are, exposed to FX, for instance, to begin to see how they can, reduce their FX exposure, because it comes with a lot of volatility, and also begin to, invest in transactions that have backward integration impact, especially, guys that are playing in the agri sector. Then those of them that play in the manufacturing sector, for instance, that sources their raw materials by importing them, this is the best time to begin to look at how they can source those, raw materials, locally. That will also, help.
Thank you very much. We're getting more questions from our audience. Another one from Mrs. Abimbola, and this question says, how does a healthy food business stand out from the crowd? Now, this is a very interesting question.
Okay, so I think focus is key. So I'll quickly take you down memory lane. So when we started this business, the initial idea was to create a farmers market where customers can come in and buy whole fruits, shop for all sorts of food items. So we sold yam, rice, and so many things. But it didn't work out well. Customers would rather prefer to go to the open markets rather than come to a tool shop with ACs and, you're putting a price tag on it. Yeah. So they didn't buy it. But all along, we've had a smaller section for fruits. So that side of the fruit section was what we looked at. Like, what can we still milk out of this? So the juicing and the salads, the ideas began to come up, and we focused on that. So over time, that other food item section, we weaned it off and we focused on the fruit and vegetable section. And we came up with so many interesting recipes to excite customers, because 9 years ago, people were not talking about feed farm. Nobody wants to eat salad. They will say it's leaves or grass. But we primed the market. We presented it in a way that you can't resist it. And so today we have, So Fresh. And our focus is on staple healthy food meals. So it's not, so many ideas came along the line, do couscous, do rice, do brown rice and all of that. While those are also healthy and good, we would rather stay and focus on what is working, and in focusing, you are able to milk a lot of value from the resources at hand. So that has helped us to stand out. Nobody will hear about So Fresh without knowing what we do. You are not going to be confused about what we do. It is very clear, and that is the brand we love to.
Thank you very much. I think we'll just take one more question from our audience, and this one will go to Olufemi. Just very quickly, PwC, global brand, we mentioned that before. Do you guys have affordable business advisory supports for SMEs?
Yeah, yes, we do. I did mention that earlier. We have an SME desk where we actually provide bespoke solutions for SMEs. So what I mean is that price at very, very affordable pricing. However, we will not compromise on the quality. And as I said, more recently, we have actually had a couple of partnerships with Access banks. We've had a few road shows where we engage quite a number of SMEs recently, and more recently, like sometime 2 weeks back, we had a business health check for some SMEs, and it was of great use to them. So yes, we're a global brand, but again, living to our values, as in building trust and solving important problems. We believe the SMEs are very key to the economy, and so we have a solution. We have an SME desk, so and we are definitely providing solutions in that space. We have a couple of success stories. Yeah, quite a number of them doing well. Start with them, and they are becoming good business.
All right. We're gradually drawing to a close. I'd like to ask Linus, as we approach the end of the year, it's Christmas. People are going about their business, trying to see how they can maximize the yuletide season. And what advice would you give to small businesses, for them to maximize their gains going into the Ember month?
Yeah, I think the advice I will give small businesses to optimize this period, this last 2, 3, 4 months of the year, is to be innovative, for the last part of the year. And being innovative, they need to leverage technology to bring down costs. Advertising, digital advertising, we spoke about it, is very key. It's going to help you, reach a lot more people at a cost-effective manner. Then you can also look at personal branding. It's also very important, during this, period, both inside your stores and all those things. You need to rebrand during this Christmas period to attract the right audience. And you also need to do what I'll call, experiential, marketing. You need to appeal to the youth, which constitute the bulk of our population. During this period, they spend a lot of money, and most times they also buy based on their experiences. So providing consistent experiences, in your business to your customers is very important. You need to train your staff to provide quality customer services is very important. It's going to help you, grow sticky customers to your business. And I also advise them not to also overspend, because Christmas is just one day in the year. It will come and go. So, there are cultural issues around the Christmas period. People tend to overspend. And by the time we enter January, June, they begin to struggle. So small businesses have to be very careful in the way they spend. They should not miscontrol the increased cash flow as a part of their profit. You have to be very careful and balance things appropriately so they can remain in business after Christmas.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Femi, now, final words from you. We're in the era of partnerships, right? What advice would you give to small businesses as we go into the Ember months? What kind of partnership would you advise them to work on to help improve their business as we go into the season?
Yeah, so just to add to what Mr. Linus did mention, as we enter the Ember months, it's very important that we start planning, have forward-thinking strategies. It's just about strategizing. First things first, let's identify the major problems that SMEs are experiencing. Lack of finance, multiplicity of taxes, shortage of infrastructures and the like. So that's the pain points. So in terms of partnership, look for those organizations or individuals who can help you in that regard. And the local have here now, PwC, SoFresh, Access Bank, we are working together to deliver value. That's one form of partnership. Yeah. So for your business, identify where else you need support. So it could be an area of technology, area of marketing, it could be of consulting, whereby PwC comes in, whatever it is. Identify good partners that can help you deliver your value. Very important, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Bimbola, we would like to end with you. So just share with us, share with the audience, a business lesson that you have, that you received that has significantly impacted your business, most especially going into the yuletide season. How can that advice be of benefit to our audience?
Okay, I think you should be very creative about how to also expand your streams of generating income at this season. So for us, we also do hampers. So be very creative, think outside the box. You can supply foodstuffs even to organizations. A lot of people give out maybe 13th month salary and gifts as well. Befriend event caterers, grooms, brides, go all out to ensure that you cash in on the millions of cash and naira that is flowing hands at this very interesting period of the year.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you very much, Linus. Thank you very much, Abimbola, and thank you very much, Olufemi. To our audience, wherever you're tuning in, we appreciate your time. We hope that today's session has been impactful to you, and we hope that you have learned a lot from all the our guests today. We'd just like to say thank you very much for joining us. We have brought this, of course, to you to help you get ready for the yuletide season, and we hope that as you listen today, that you learned one or two things that would help your business, do better in this season. This webinar will be made available on the Access SMEZone. So please visit www.accesssmezone.com for more information. My name once again is Chibueze Iwuzie, and it was a pleasure to host this event. Thank you very much.